the Androscoggin River Valley, the people, the places, the events, the history, all that makes up the vibrant story of the towns of the Androscoggin River Valley from Lewiston, Auburn through Mexico, Rumford, and Bethel to New Hampshire.
Hello and welcome to the April 2016 edition of Today River Valley. Today River Valley is the video news feature program for the towns of the Androscoggin Valley and the state of Maine. The Androscoggin Valley runs from the Lewiston, Auburn area through Dixfield, Mexico, Rumford, and Bethel, all the way to the mountains of New Hampshire. My name is Phil Blampede. I'm the host and producer of Today River Valley. In this edition, we're going to be looking at the problem of homelessness in the state of Maine. Now, it's not as big a problem in Maine as it is in other states because it's too cold in Maine for people to live outside much of the year. But there is a homeless problem in Maine, and in January, several agencies did a survey to find out exactly how many people there are in Maine that don't have a place to live. And this was at the coldest time of the year. Let's take a look.
This past January, service providers throughout the state got together before dawn on a cold morning to go out on the streets and count how many homeless people they could find. This year, as in the past, they did find quite a few. We'll take a look at this yearly census of the homeless and then go to Rumford to see how one agency is responding to the problem as it manifests itself in the small towns of Maine. Then, changing gears, we'll hear from some funny and talented storytellers as we visit The Corner, a monthly storytelling show in Lewiston. We'll be right back after messages from local businesses. Excuse me, sir, are you getting a little shaggy around the ears but can't find time for a haircut? Well, now you can. At Lisa's Barbershop at 178 Main Street in Mexico, owner Lisa Shardlow specializes in quick haircuts. No appointment is necessary and there's rarely a wait. At Lisa's, the motto is cut and go.
After such a long winter, you may feel like a shaggy bear coming out of hibernation. I can't help you with the bear part, but if you're feeling shaggy, come to Lisa's for a trim.
At Lisa's, all adult haircuts are $11, kids 10 and under are $8, and remember, kids get to pick a prize from the toy box. Open Tuesday to Friday, 8:30 to 5, Saturday, 9 to noon. If your shoes don't feel right or your feet hurt, don't ignore the warning signs. Visit Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab in Livermore Falls, the leading provider of corrective shoes and accessories in Maine. Foot problems can lead to pain in the knee, hip, and back. At Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, we design footwear to relieve pain or discomfort from disease, overuse, or congenital conditions. In our retail showroom, there are 4 certified pet orthotists who provide your initial foot exam at no charge. All manufacturing of your custom footwear, orthotics, and braces is done on site.
Hi, I'm Bruce McDonald, president of Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, and I'd like to invite you to come to the most unique shoe store in Maine, where we are the foot comfort specialists.
Don't ignore that discomfort. Pine Tree Orthopedic Lab, open Monday through Friday 8 to 5, Saturday 8 to 2. The warmer temperatures of spring aren't that far away, and as the snow and ice melts, the risk of flooding returns to our area. If you're driving and you see water covering the entire road surface in front of you, don't risk it. Turn around. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report that over half of all flood-related drownings occur when a vehicle is driven into floodwater. It takes only 6 inches of fast-moving floodwater to knock down the average adult and 12 inches to sweep away a small car. 2 feet or more of moving water can sweep away any size vehicle. Don't wind up like the drivers of these vehicles. If the road is flooded, turn around. This message brought to you by... In flooding or any emergency, it's critical to have a reliable cell phone with reliable service. At the Wireless Zone on Route 2 in Mexico, we're here to help you get the kind of service you can count on. Call 207-369-0016 or stop by. We're open 7 days. And by Stony Brook Recreation and Stony Brook Variety. For over 30 years, Stony Brook Recreation has been the year-round family camping experience right on Route 2 in Hanover, Maine, and it now features a full-service convenience store open 7 days a week.
I bought a great vacation home for when So come on in. Let us open new doors for you. After all, we are the people-pleasing agency serving all your real estate needs.
You're watching Today River Valley, the community news video program for the towns of the upper Androscoggin River Valley in the mountains of western Maine.
Maine, with its severe winter weather, has one of the lowest rates of homelessness in the nation. But when people do get stuck without a place to live, it's a desperate situation. And so, every year when the weather is at its coldest, service providers fan out through the community and try to see exactly how many people there are without their own place to live. On January 27th, representatives from several social agencies met at the Tri-County mental health offices in Lewiston and got ready for a cold night of searching the community for the homeless.
My name is Jerry DeWitt, and I'm the co-chairman of the Lewiston Auburn Maine Military Community Network. The yearly census is authorized by the Housing and Urban Development HUD, and each of the Maine State Housing Authority has to do a count of homeless people every year. So we try to coordinate volunteers throughout the state to do that, and we're using the Maine Military and Community Network because it's such a broad network to reach out to all those volunteers in our community.
Tonight into tomorrow morning is the night of the point-in-time survey when we actually count the homeless, and so we're going to be heading out at 4 in the morning tomorrow. I'm Janice Huey. I work for the Catholic Charities PATH program, and we do homeless outreach.
The one-night survey, called a, quote, point-in-time, unquote, census, found over 500,000 homeless in the United States last year. In Maine, in 2015, the count was 2,372, and of those, 59 were, quote, unsheltered, unquote, meaning they were sleeping outside, maybe in a car, or an apartment hallway, or a dumpster, on a cold night in January.
There's a couple of places where we know people have been sleeping in the hallways of apartment buildings and stuff, so we're going to go check those out and see if we come across any homeless folks who would be willing to answer a few questions for us so we can include them in the count.
We find new people every year, so the homeless people don't go away. It's just we need to go out and look for them and find out where they're at.
It's sometimes thought that most of the homeless are in cities, and in Maine, that could mean Portland or Lewiston and Auburn. But what about smaller towns, places like Rumford or South Paris? There is, in fact, a homeless problem in smaller communities, and in the River Valley area, the organization trying to respond to it is called the Rumford Group Homes, and they too participated in the census of the homeless in January.
In our local area in Oxford County, we operate 44 shelter beds. So all of those 44 people that were homeless during the time frame of the point-in-time count were included. So that was 44 right there. And then we also operate a federally funded maternity group home program for homeless, pregnant, and parenting youth. And all of those youth, even though they're housed through our program, are still considered homeless. So we have 8 youth that were also counted in the program. And then also during the time frame of the count, any referrals that we got, anybody that called for homeless services, anybody that needed a shelter bed that we maybe didn't have room for, was also included on the count, and so added up from there. My name is Melissa McEntee, and I'm the Director of Homeless Services for Rumford Group Homes. We've had people that were sleeping underneath the bridge to go over to the island right by the Rumford Library. There was at one point kind of an encampment underneath the bridge. We've had people sleeping there. We've had multiple people that were sleeping in cars, sleeping in campers in the middle of winter with no heat and no water. So we do see that here. We also at times have seen people that were living in buildings that weren't meant for human habitation. So we've seen people in abandoned buildings, we've seen people in foreclosed buildings, we've seen people squatting in buildings that were, the landlord shut the building down and moved out of town. And so we have seen people living in places that definitely aren't fit for human habitation, but that's where they have to go. And we find that in contrast to areas, more urban areas of the state, like Portland, Bangor, Lewiston, Auburn, what we see here is that people are trying to live with their relatives, they're trying to live with their friends, they're living with boyfriends or girlfriends. They're kind of grasping to any straw that they can to prevent themselves from becoming homeless. There just aren't a lot of resources here. So we don't typically see a street population. We don't drive down Rumford and necessarily see homeless people sleeping on the side of the road or in the bridge. Like you might see that in Portland. There's a visible homeless population, and in this area it tends to be a lot more hidden. So very often people are surprised when I go anywhere and talk about the homeless issue in Oxford County. People almost don't believe it because they can't see it. So it's definitely a real issue here. There seems to be this myth around that people will just go to a shelter to get whatever services they can, and people will just go apply for whatever they're eligible for to get the help. And what we see in this area is oftentimes people will do whatever they can to avoid that. People will try to link with any family or friends or anything like that to avoid going into shelter. It's not where people want to be. It's not the most comfortable living environment in the world. It's awkward. You're living with maybe 12, 13, 14, 15 strangers that you don't know. So we see people doing a lot to try to divert themselves from becoming homeless or having to access those resources.
Rumford Group Homes not only provides food and shelter to the homeless, they also provide strict guidance to those who wind up in their shelters, trying to get the people they help to acquire the skills needed to find and keep their own housing. In our next segment, we'll look at one of their buildings, a building which is a lot nicer than most would assume a homeless shelter to be. We'll find out why in a couple of minutes.
Washing machines are offering more and more features each year. Well, you may not find anything quite like this yet at Larson's Electric Service in Mexico, but you'll find the latest in everything from washing machines to refrigerators to stoves. With Amana, Whirlpool, KitchenAid, and Maytag brands, Larson's offers free delivery and setup of your new appliance plus removal of your old appliance. Over 50 years experience, Larson's, 13 Main Street, Mexico, Maine.
The thing about Pat's Pizza is that it's informal, but the food is really good. It's not just pizza. They make their own dough there, they make their own lasagna there, and it's a very comfortable place. You go in and it's a rustic post and beam interior. Portions are incredibly generous. Staff is friendly. You know, I like trying the microbrews. They have a selection of microbrews at the bar. They have a 6-page menu. It's you have to think a while before you make a choice. They have gluten-free specialties, including gluten-free carrot cake. They've been there for nearly 2 decades, and I think there's a reason why. It's a very pleasant place to find some really good food in a comfortable environment.
Pat's Pizza, it's not just pizza. Visit us soon on Route 2 in Bethel. Call ahead for takeout at 824-3637 and like us on Facebook. Thai Smile on historic Narrow Gauge Square in Farmington has become known for its delicious Thai and Korean food and sushi. With a full bar featuring 30 beers on draft, eat in our bright and designer-lit dining room or order takeout. Get half off on an order of pork dumplings with any full dinner order. Open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily.
Thai Smile.
As mentioned in our last segment, there's a problem of homelessness in the smaller communities in western Maine, but it's not as visible as it is in cities. As Melissa McEntee, Director of Homeless Services for Rumford Group Homes, explained in our last segment, people resort to living with friends or relatives or even sleeping in abandoned buildings rather than staying out on the street. But unlike cities where many of the homeless are older people, the homeless in this area are most often young adults who haven't yet acquired the skills needed to survive on their own.
By and large, though, I'm going to say young adults is mostly what we see. On any given day within our shelter programs, you're on average likely to see people that are under the age of 30 that are just struggling to get by, struggling to earn a livable wage, struggling to gain experience that would make them more apt to be hired, and people struggling to finish their education. We have a huge amount of clients that are working on a high school diploma or an equivalency, working on getting some type of job skills or job training that would lead into a full-time position, CNA class, for example. So we do have people that are able and willing to work, but oftentimes just don't have that platform where they have education history, job skills. So that's a huge challenge in this area.
In the area from Rumford to South Paris, the Rumford Group Homes is the agency whose job it is to help the homeless. They do this first of all by providing the homeless with a place to live. But the shelter isn't given without conditions. Everyone who moves into a shelter run by the Rumford Group Homes is required to make the effort to get back into their own housing, whether that means getting a job, getting more education, or getting counseling to learn how to live independently.
This is our Rumford Family Center, and we have up to 15 people here at a time. Right now I think we have 9 children in the house, so it gets very busy, and we try to work with the parents as much as possible, especially while the kids are in school, to work on those housing goals, and we try to make it a comfortable and homey environment for people to use as their home while they need it. Normally when people say homeless shelter, they think of a big dormitory style room with cots and footlockers, and that's kind of the exact opposite of what we're going for here. We operate our shelters as family centers, which means we have children's playrooms, we have toys, we have separate bedrooms for families, and we try to make people as comfortable as possible, and we ask that people use it like their home while they're here, so that they can become comfortable, and it's less of a traumatic environment for children who don't have any control whatsoever over their housing situations. And we've actually had some of the kids that came into the program say that this is the nicest place that they've ever lived, and they call it a mansion. It's a huge old house with a bunch of bedrooms and stained glass windows, but it's not so comfortable in the fact that people have to live, if it's a single person here, they have to live with 14 strangers. There's regular inspections of your bedroom. Staff are in here at 8 in the morning knocking on your door saying get up, asking you to show that you're proving that you're saving income, asking you for proof of how many jobs you've applied for, constantly working with people to motivate them to work on their goals. In the past few years, there's been a huge push statewide to reduce the length of shelter stays. First off, shelter stays are expensive. The funding has to come from somewhere. So the push has been to get people rapidly rehoused as soon as possible, just to reduce the amount of time that families are literally just sitting in shelter in a waiting pattern. So our average length of stay has gone down to somewhere in the mid-40s, I think about 45 days. And we do a lot of work to get them a housing subsidy to make sure that they can budget and save for a security deposit and first month's rent. That's going to be essential. And we also have staff that work with the families in shelter to do budgeting work. We help people establish savings accounts and checking accounts. We help people access resources. We're also helping people get back into school or get into a job training program like a CRMA course or a truck driving course. We're also helping people apply for the benefits that are going to support their family and help them sustain their independence. It's a huge just array of services that people really need to help support them growing enough to become independent, and then our biggest thing is maintaining that independence. So we want short shelter stays, but shelter stays that people come out stronger on the other side.
Let's look at Turner, Maine, a town with a country feel, located just north of Lewiston, Auburn. Centered on busy Route 4 is a vibrant business community with numerous stores and services. Let's take a look at some of them. For 3 generations, R.E. Lowell has been the family-owned lumber and hardware business with locations in Buckfield and on Route 4 in Turner. Whether you're a professional contractor or a do-it-yourself homeowner, R.E. Lowell has what you're looking for. Become part of the family. When you're looking for hardware or lumber or building supplies, look to Lowell.
Looking for an inexpensive but reliable used car? Shop Duval Auto Sales on Route 4 in Turner. Just check out these great reviews on Google.
Hi, this is Darren. I'm the owner of Duval Auto Sales. We've been selling quality used cars to the hard-working people of Central Maine for 20 years.
Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturday by appointment.
East Grand Fence on Route 4 in Turner, right across from Goodwin's Well Drilling.
This is Daniel Johnston from East Grand Fence. Spring is coming. You should think about getting ready for your spring fencing projects. We have chain link and ornamental and vinyl and wood. Our cedar is right from Maine. We manufacture all kinds of specialty wood fencing products. We also have these beautiful window boxes. Put your plastic plant pot right inside there, and it's a nice looking addition to your home landscape.
East Grand Fence, stop in or call for an appointment.
When you think of Subaru, think of RJB & Son. We thoroughly service every Subaru we sell and specialize in Subaru auto repair to ensure that the car you drive is 100% safe and reliable.
When you think of Subaru, think of RJB & Son.
1026 Route 4, Turner.
It's time to try Thai at Thai Smile 2 in Mexico, Maine, under new management. Your hosts Ned and Dee Dee invite you to try the world of authentic Thai cuisine, featuring their famous crispy chicken and tasty sushi. When it comes to heat, Thai Smile lets you choose your spice level from 1 to 5. Every meal is made from scratch with fresh ingredients. There's a full bar with 24 beers on tap. If you've never tried the taste of authentic Thai cuisine, now's the time to try Thai, located in the Old Mexico Chicken Coop at 41 Main Street in Mexico.
My story starts in junior high. When I was in junior high,
my great escape story is actually
strong opinions about things, and I was also really
So in the 1990s, I had a job in the film industry. It was one of those.
We've all had interesting things happen to us, but you've probably noticed it isn't always easy to make them sound as interesting when you recount the story later. Storytelling is an art and a skill, and now there's a regular monthly event in Lewiston, Maine, dedicated to giving storytellers a chance to share their stories and improve their storytelling skills. Welcome to The Corner.
So my name is Michael Sargent, and by day I am a college professor at Bates College. I teach psychology. By night I lead a monthly storytelling event known as The Corner. For anyone who is familiar with The Moth from National Public Radio, The Corner is very similar in its model to that, but we have it right here in Lewiston, Maine. So from September through May, it happens once a month. It happens on the second Thursday of every month. Each month of The Corner, we have 10 people tell stories. About half of those individuals are selected in advance. I call them our pre-picked tellers. And the other half are selected at random from willing audience members. We always have a fishbowl at the event, and anyone who's willing to tell a story from the audience signs up and puts their name in the fishbowl, and we draw enough names to round out the list of 10. At The Corner, every person tells a 5-minute first-person story, and they do this without notes. So it's not a reading. People are actually standing in front of a mix of strangers and friends, just telling us some narrative from their lives that they are at the center of. And again, as I said, this is similar to The Moth on National Public Radio. It's similar to a variety of storytelling programs around the country where people are taking you through a story. So a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has an arc. And the goal is to actually transport the people in the audience, sort of metaphorically, out of the place that they're in into the setting of your story, and to do that just with your words. There's no props, there's no pyrotechnics, it's just your words as the tool you use to transport the audience to the setting of your story.
All right, give it up for Heather from Lee. So my great escape story is actually helping someone get out of an OUI. It was here in Lewiston, and there were a bunch of us that were decided that it would be fun to drag race over by the industrial park. And at first I was just the flag girl, and afterward I was the passenger in my own vehicle. And so as we were going down Apple Road, my friend Roger did not realize what road we were on, and he decided to pass us. He had no brakes. And he went through the stop sign, up the embankment, and hit the 95 sign from Apple Road to, what's that one? Alfred E. Plord Parkway. So we decide after that happens that we're gonna go and get a chain and try and use my 4-cylinder little Chevy Sprint to try to pull his car off the embankment to try to hide it. So we went home, we get the chain, we come back to the scene of the accident, and we're trying to pull it off when the police showed up. So my friend actually had 3 priors, so unfortunately. And so when the cop asked who was driving that vehicle, I volunteered and said it was me. He looked at me shocked, and they said, okay, we're going to need to do like a roadside sobriety test now. So we did the whole, touch the nose and everything. And then he has me do the heel toe. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. Well, I have experience as a gymnast when I was in school with the balance beam. And so I did a dip step as I was doing and I did a dismount. And as my hands went up, my hands were quickly grabbed by the police officer and put into handcuffs. And he said, I'm putting you under arrest for OUI. So I learned, because we had wonderful, at Wiscasset High School, they had a wonderful driver's ed program where we learned how a breathalyzer test works. And for everyone in here, you should know this. It actually is tested by the saliva that comes through the tube. So I promptly started breathing through my mouth. And I was in the back of the cruiser, breathing through my mouth until my mouth was completely dry. And I got to the police station, and they did the breathalyzer, and it came up .04. I clearly know that I had been drinking all night, and I was passengerizing, just so people know. I'm not advocating for drinking and driving. I was not the driver. I was the passenger. But it came up .04. And they said, well, that's strange. I thought the same thing. So I continued breathing through my mouth as they said, we're going to have to retest you. They tested me again at the police station, again, .04. Well, perfect. Okay, I'm going home. So he said, clearly, the reason why you were disoriented and not able to do the roadside test was because you hit your head on the windshield of the car. Not realizing, of course, that I wasn't even in the vehicle that had crashed. I was in the other one. And I said, yes, I'm sure that is exactly what the reason was. So he drives me back. Actually, at that time, I'm a smoker. And I demanded that I get to have a cigarette, and I didn't have a lighter. And so I started becoming very belligerent at the police station and asking somebody for a lighter. I said, you've got all these police cars out here. You can't tell me that one of them doesn't have a lighter in it. I want to smoke a cigarette. You guys arrested me. You shouldn't have. I want to smoke. So they found a book of matches for me. They were very nice. Lewiston PD. So he brings me back to the scene of the crime. And of course, my friends are gone at that point, and so I have to leave a note for them because I've got to go somewhere, and I asked them to take me to Cumberland Farms up on Lisbon Street. So they left a note on the cop wrote it for me because I was unable, clearly, because I hit my head. So he wrote the note for me to my friends that I was going to be at Cumberland Farms and they should meet me there. And I sat on the curb and I waited, and when my friends pulled up in my car, because they're in my car, I didn't mention this either. The cop didn't think to run the license plate and notice that the other car that had come on the scene, incidentally, he didn't realize that was actually my vehicle. So they pulled up, and Roger, the one that I got out of the OUI, actually, he had bet my friend Mikey, who was driving my vehicle, $10 that I would get out of it unscathed. And so as I got into the back of the car, he said, you owe me $10, and they shook hands, and that's my story.
Well, that's it for the April 2016 edition of Today River Valley. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us, write us at P.O. Box 159, Roxbury, Maine 04275, or email contact@todayrivervalley.com. This is Phil Blampede, the host and producer of Today River Valley. See you next month.